Hello everybody and welcome to round 2 of the 2023.2 simGT3 series. Tonight it's myself, Sas van der Westhuizen and Ryan Hill joining me in the booth.
Evening, Sass. How's it going?
It's excited. It's a wet Zandvoort. Lots to look forward to. Just quickly saying hello to Hilton and Barry Mayer there in YouTube chat. Quickly want to get things rolling. The qualifying session has technically already started, but I want to just share some insight into tonight's race. We are racing at Zandvoort. It has been a very, very rainy week. So our forecast was a very, very rainy forecast, quite heavy rain. I think the drivers are going to be working really, really hard tonight. And it is the full Zandvoort layout. I don't think Zandvoort has been using a different layout for GT3 racing in recent years. But also I'm not going to try and pronounce those names. I've got some funky Dutch names there, corner names up on the screen. But yeah, in terms of weather, as I've already said, it is very, very wet. We've got 35% rain level with a 40% cloud level, average ambient temperature of 16 degrees, very, very low randomness. So if it's wet, it's wet. Drivers will have to make peace with that fact. But yeah, kind of excited to get this one rolling. There was quite a bit of chatter within between the drivers about this race.
Yeah, absolutely. There was quite a lot of build-up on Discord in the couple of weeks leading up, especially once they saw the forecast for wet. And as we can see from the weather forecast in the top right-hand corner of your screen as well, it's currently raining, and then you see a little top right icon is a rain cloud with a plus sign next to it, meaning it's going to get even heavier. So we'll have to see how the track progresses. Obviously, qualifying being taking place on a fictional Saturday right now, and we'll move into the race session from Sunday. And the weather is simulated to progress over the race weekend, so to speak. So
yeah, the other thing is also Sim Racing GP, the platform that we've been running on, has finally 3 years later gone out of beta. They've fully released their journey now, which made multi-split events available to us. So we've got almost I see we've got 42 drivers on the track tonight. We were trying to see how many people might not make tonight, estimated around about 5, so probably overestimated that a bit. But it does mean that there is going to be loads of cars circling and helping to clear some water from the track there.
Yeah, absolutely. The ACC does do a pretty good job of simulating dynamic racing lines with wet weather. So even if it continues to rain, it's not so much a drying line. You will see essentially the racing line, wherever drivers are going, that line forming. And already as I speak, I'm on board with the driver, and you can definitely see a slightly darker patch on the road.
Yeah,
which is interesting. I was watching a Traxian GG video, I think, earlier today, just giving some drivers some tips on how to survive in the wet. And ACC apparently does simulate the racing line becoming more slippery if it's still under wet conditions, and that's obviously, with the breakdown of rubber itself going to its raw components.
So that's going from dry to wet.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, at some point there'll be a crossover point if it stops raining.
I was on board with Mike Leroux. He managed the 143.1 in the end. I've hopped forward now to Fleming Bauer, currently in P9. He's got about 8 tenths up on his delta. And as we can see, that 8 tenths might just be enough to get him onto provisional pole.
Yep.
It has been with the release of the new Ferrari. It does look like we have a little bit of a Ferrari Cup, but Charles Wilkin previously showing that that Lamborghini can be quite quick. And as I say that, Fleming Bauer crosses the line there, and that bumps him up into P2, which then Ryan Ottens or Charles Wilkin forces him down one spot again. Sean Strijdom,
the new Lamborghini, or the Evo 2, has actually looked like it's quite competitive. Can certainly hold its own up there. I think
Judging by what happened at Watkins Glen, Charles was really, really competitive in that Lamborghini.
I mean, I'm pretty confident that Charles will be competitive in anything, but yeah, certainly showing that it's no slouch, the Lamborghini itself. Yeah.
No, I'm just finishing a lap with Sean Stradom at the moment. He's about 1.2 seconds up on his Delta, and that is enough for him to grab provisional pole away there. Loads of Deltas. Ross Bartle currently 5/10 up on his Delta. Not quite enough to push him into provisional pole. I'm actually not seeing anybody else able to contest that right now, unless someone like Ryan Ottens and Fleming is on a little bit of a faster lap. Although I said that, I now see that Ross has managed a 1 second Delta. So this track seems to be improving a little bit as we're going along. Maybe the heavy rain is being cleared ever so slightly by the 40 plus cars circling the track.
There's a good chance that, standing water is displaced as well. As I just see Van der Merwe getting past Wilkin, in my view, but certainly can have an effect.
It is also a case of drivers needing to do a little bit of traffic management here, making sure that they're putting themselves out into clean air. Ross crossing the finish line there, 1.3 seconds up, and that puts him onto the front row in P2. A little bit further down, Nick Hodgson on a 1 second Delta there. This is in the sector 2, so he's also probably going to be bumping up ahead. We want to just jump ahead to Hannes van Wyk, also one of the drivers that we tend to see up front. Not quite a great Delta right now. I'm sure he's just trying to get that raging bull, grab it by the horns and see what he can put together. Oh, nobody improving except Nick. Coming up to the second last corner. Last corner is flat, if I remember. I'm not 100% sure if it's flat in the wet like this.
Yeah, that may be another kettle of fish.
Oh, right. Nick very, very much on the edge there. And that bumps him up into P9, so not quite good enough to get himself into the top 5 yet. In P18, Andre Serodio.
Serodio, yeah.
This is a
so
new
pedaling
driver.
the Lambo around. It is. I was just about to mention we've got a couple of new names on the track tonight who found their way into the top split. Andre is one of them. I know we have a fellow Frenchman. That's Kenneth. Where is he now? Did see him on the grid earlier. Kenneth Niobe.
Yes.
Not sure how to pronounce your surname in the correct French pronunciation. But he's new, welcome. Who else do we have that's new?
What is really interesting is looking at just how low Andre's ping is. He must be racing from South Africa.
Yes.
Ron John, I see there in YouTube chat, you're asking, what game is this? This is Assetto Corsa Competizione. I think you can find it on Steam. I don't know if it's on any other platforms. But for the most part, Assetto Corsa Competizione is the sim that we host 2 of our series on. And maybe this is a good time to punt this. Now that we have multi-splits available, come sign up. There is no such thing as not having space for us left.
Limit. Yeah. Infinite amounts of space.
Our races are hosted in South Africa. That's why the ping in general looks really, really good. So make sure to head on over to www.simracesa.co.za. You can find a link to our Discord server over there. And head on over, you can come sign up, get the details that you need to. And this is a PC platform only racing league that we run. Unfortunately, there isn't crossplay for ACC on consoles. Maybe one day, then we'll be able to open up the options there. Right, so Andre currently I'm still on board with him. Currently 5/10 up on his delta,
Okay.
so he's slowly improving. He was P18, he's now P10. I'm just curious where he's going to be finishing now.
Cool. I'm keeping an eye on Nick Hodgson, who is a 10th up on his best, but he's just started to hit some traffic, which may put a damper on things. Looks like Fridge in front of him, who's capable. I'm not sure who's in front of Fridge right now. I think it is Paul Pothen.
Also a new name, if I remember correctly.
Yes, the name is not too familiar for me. Fridge has yielded and got out of the way of Nick, who continues this hot lap, but he's lost all of that advantage, sadly.
I did jump forward to Ryan Barrington-Smith, for one of the LNR racing team drivers there, in the Porsche. Ooh, that Porsche must be quite the handful here in the wet.
Another driver I'm seeing doing well up on his delta is Brendan Holzhausen, who has just gone from 36th or something up to 29th. With that lap, he's just starting another one. Who else is improving? I've got Gideon Bernardi up about point. Oh, he's just lost it. That's commentator's curse. I'm sorry.
I'm on board. I'm on board now with Nicholas Manuel, P35. He's got about 6/10 on his delta, so decent amount of time to gain there.
Yeah. In front of him is Sean Lariro in this green. Oh, I love this livery. You were pointing it out earlier. It's the same livery as, I think it was Evia.
Yes, I think they're teammates actually.
Yeah, what a stunning livery.
I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of those LTR cars tonight. They've proven that they're quick.
Livery, yeah.
And Nicholas currently almost a second up in his delta. That's going to bump him up well ahead into P17.
Wow, good improvement. Yeah.
Top 10 not improving at the moment. I'm going to hunt further down, see if there's someone improving. Jason Luck in P28. Third of a way into his lap. Currently 4/10 up in his delta. Let's ride on board and see what we can do there. Ooh, Mr. Carl Stieg. Been a while. Hello. In YouTube chat there.
I'm currently on board with Jude Neville in P24. He's currently almost half a second up on his delta. So this will be a considerable improvement for him.
So there's 2/10 between Jude. Oh, Jason threw away. He used to be 8/10 up, but now... Okay, right. I'm switching to Jude now.
Yeah. Oh, I lost a little bit of time coming through the chicane,
that
but still a decent improvement.
Chicane has such a big braking zone, and you need to be really careful to not lock up and put the car into a slide, because that just eats up your time when you're trying to accelerate out of there.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's lost all of that advantage, and he's just gone
he
off track
invalidates his lap by running wide.
Lucky Jude, but he has enough time to do one more flyer. He's just gone 1 minute left.
In the meantime, I'm hopping. As I hop to Ryan Barrington-Smith, I just see him scraping against the barrier. But that means I'm going to jump back to Essie Esterhuizen in P18. Currently 4/10 up.
He's on a flyer. Sean Stratham in P3 is currently up a quarter of a second and gaining on his best. 0.3 now. That will leapfrog him ahead of Ross Bartle and possibly even Ryan Ottens.
Might even be, yes. Ooh, he's lost a 10th again now.
Just lost a little bit, yeah.
Maybe there's a bit of time to gain here in the braking zone for the chicane.
The chicane, yeah, you'll have to hook it up nicely.
Ooh, that looked decent.
Done well.
2/10 up there.
That was a great line. I just has to hold it through the second to last. And now last corner. Now we little lift just to keep it in check. And keep it in line. That's a decent improvement. 0.2 should jump him at least. What's going to be on the bubble? One position.
On the bubble. Not quite enough for P1. Right, Paul Venter in P17, currently a 10th up on his delta. It is very, very tight here. Looking at the field spread, we were expecting a tight field. Everybody is doing really, really quick times. I think tonight it's going to be about the endurance, who can keep it clean the longest. and make sure that like you can capitalize on mistakes happening in front of you and not get caught up like following another driver off track and losing positions yourself.
Paul's unfortunately dropped a little bit of time. He's back on his Delta.
At some point he might be telling himself this is not gonna cut it. I suspect he'll be pushing the entire lap, but not sure if that was a quick line through the chicane. He's still right there on his Delta. Almost a second behind P1, so definitely a lot of time left on the table.
Yeah, he'll round the finish line now to basically be consistent with his best. So.
Everybody else done. We're going to go for a very quick break while everybody grids up. We'll see everybody in a moment. Okay, we are back. It is wet all around. Drivers have around about a minute to still prep and get ready, load their setups, make sure that they've got their fuel set. I think they are likely thanking their rain dancers for not leaving a flooded track, but I think that's going to make for a really interesting race tonight, having this many cars on track in these conditions.
It could be interesting. I think because the forecast is for pretty consistent rain, drivers are probably banking on the fact that it's not going to, be scattered showers and lighten up at some point, which means that their optimal plan A strategies may be a little bit more consistent in their mind. But being a wet surface, it's, incidents happen, and that may necessitate an early pit stop, which may then get them changing their strategy on the fly in terms of fuel loads and all sorts of things. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things unfold. Just reminding the viewers, of course, there's one mandatory pit stop. There is no pit window. It essentially covers the entire race. Tires are optional to change. 1 liter fuel is the minimum to make a valid pit stop. Of course, they have the full tire set allocation of 50 tires available to them. We've never sort of limited that at any point, but maybe something to do for future. Could be interesting.
Yeah, I know that with real world GT3 racing, the format is to do a driver swap / mandatory pit stop with a minimum pit length. Basically, there's a pit window of 10 minutes. The race is an hour long, so you are required to take tires, which means you're doing around about a 30-second stationary pit stop. But it makes it... Ooh, Ryan Otten's pulling off of
there. Yeah, that's interesting.
Ooh, maybe had a disconnect of a wheel there. He
some
is
issue.
gone. Right, I'm just hopping back to... on Stradom now. Anyways, so
you realized you made a mistake and didn't put the right tires on.
Might have been the case.
Stuff from the pit lane now.
Ooh, that is a tough one.
That could have been a costly mistake if it was.
But yeah, so there's a requirement that you have to take your mandatory pit stop at the 10-minute, in the middle 10 minutes of your race, and that's the format that we're using for the GT4 races. And I believe that it has made for some really interesting choices. We did open up the option and said, well, okay, either you do a minimum pit stop of 25 seconds, or if you take tires, you'll do a 30-second pit stop. So drivers still have a little bit of flexibility, but in these changing condition races, it really makes it a tough decision to decide when do you go and pit. With Suzuka last race, oh, that was such an entertaining race to be in. It was quite a tough spot to make the decisions like on the fly and figure out what needs to be done and where. It's such a short track, they should be lining up double file basically now. Oh,
that is quite a short track.
Cars taking shortcuts there over the chicane.
The GT3 series in real life, the last race held here in 2022, last year basically. Lap record is in a Mercedes Evo, lap time record obviously in the drive, a 134.1.
Ooh, have you might be able to go and look up some lap records on Sim Racing GP for this track.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, right. Drivers are lining up double file. They're approaching the start-finish straight, or they're on the start-finish straight. John Strydom pulling ahead very, very far. Ross Bartle lining up, and away they go. Pit window is open.
Good gap. Sean Stratham, that is. And I'm seeing Ross and Ryan side by side. Barrington Smith and Bartle. Looks like Bartle's gonna hold that inside line.
He manages to stay ahead. Let me just switch back to the helicopter cam. There's a lot of traffic. Do you see most dots moving? I don't see any yellow dots indicating for...
There's someone relatively stationary towards the back, and I'm seeing a red cargo sliding. That is... Oh, okay, it's Endrin Govender and Neil Bullion had a little bit of a tussle down the back.
Okay, as soon as my timing tower updates...
Hannes van Veek sitting in the pits at the moment too. Not sure what's gone wrong with Hannes van Veek. Everyone else is on their way.
Interestingly, Sean Strydom looks like he's really, really struggling to get his tires fired up. He's running some very, very different lines compared to Ross. And Ross is really focused on trying to close down that gap, and it looks like he's been making Sean's life really difficult as well in that process.
Ooh, it gets so close under that chicane.
Ooh. Ross runs very, very deep there, maybe a little bit caught out.
Yeah, both in the same machinery. The Ferrari 296, the new one. And Brian Barrington Smith just behind them in the Porsche.
Oh, these cars just on the edge, sliding there. The driver's very, very confident at the race start now.
Yeah. And it almost looks like the top top four, I'd say, with Andres Rodeo have sort of broken away a little bit.
Yeah,
that dark red, dark maroon color of Andres Rodeo's Lambo looking quite menacing in Ryan Barrington Smith's mirrors.
Just hopping back to AC Esterhuizen, who's round about, he was half a second behind Sanjan Pillay. Oh, look at that spray. It is spectacular. Just to show what this looks like from a driver's perspective. I know some drivers are using their dash cams. Esterhuizen trying to make a move there on Pillay, but like just not
incidents,
just not able to make it stick.
A little bit of 10-pin bowling going on down there. The flags are out. Looks like the cars have managed to recover now. Ooh, and we see Yassine Ismail go sliding off all on his own just a little bit, but recovers.
Okay. I'm still following Esterhuizen. He's right under the wing of Pillay.
See a number of cars in the pits now, I think taking some early damage repairs probably.
This is the type of
Hannes
race.
Vek also is now exiting the pits, so
Hannes
he's finally
exiting
gotten
now.
going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Waiting at the
And,
pit exit is a really
gone
tough
wide at,
one.
Fleming Bauer's gone wide that T1. He's merged himself. Oh, and a St. John Pele just flat tag from the back, under braking. And yeah, that's Essie Esterhazy at the back of this 3.
Oh, it's close racing here for P7, 8 and 9. Did manage
all
to...
led by Logistical Nightmare Racing's Fleming Burr in the purple and white and black Ferrari. And just ahead we're seeing, I think that's Flip Van Sale go off in the Merc. Manages to get going. I think just losing out one place to Charles Wilkins' Lambo.
Yes.
But he's going to be taken now by Fleming Burr.
Alright, just looking back to P30 23, Jason Luck, right behind him, Fabrice and Mike Leroux, battling it out. Is that Mike? No, that is not Mike. That must be
It's
a back marker.
Gideon Bernardi in the red and white, and then there's Arvia Marais in his LTR. They're going to make contacts with Gideon Bernardi, who is sent spinning, unfortunately. He's going to try and rejoin, hopefully safely.
Track is very wet. You need to be careful here. Right, Yassine Ismail and P18, Bridge Findlay and Hardes Boise all seem to be duking it out right now.
Ooh. I've just flicked onto position 32, Grant Sebastian, racing by his own right now. Nothing much to report, but that livery, that retro look, very well done. As he goes sliding around.
No. Luckily not on the live
The
stream.
commentator's curse, yeah.
Little bit of a wiggle there
yeah,
by
kudos.
Bridge following Yassine.
Kudos on the livery, Grant Sebastian. I think that's for Project Vapor Eagle team.
Quickly switch to him just to have a look. Ooh, yeah, that is a very clean and nice looking livery.
Reminds me of the old school Apple computer sort of theme.
Right,
Looks
Bridge
like a
is
bit of
side by
German
side with
flag
Yassine
influence.
Ismail into, I
go.
forgot the turn numbers, but he's going to pull out ahead. They're still side by side going into the next hairpin corner. Yassine is very likely going to have the
Jason
better
Luck.
drive.
Jason Luck in the yellow-wheeled Porsche behind them.
Also looking to get in on the action.
In this mix, yeah. Through this chicane, there's a little bit of archie-barchie. But
Yassine does manage to
foul.
stay ahead of Jason Luck, though, but I think he might have compromised his exit there with the bad line through the chicane. Under a lot
there's
of
another
pressure.
driver just behind the white Porsche, Fabrice McCarthy,
Yes.
who is on the backside of Jason Luck. Oh, he's a little bit of a slide, but he catches it.
Jason Luck side by side with Yassine into turn
Going for
one.
the drag into T1, yeah. There's Ishmael trying to squeeze him, but there's a bit of understeer there from Jason Luck, and he's just kind of ping-ponged off and taking the position. A little bit of flash of lights from Yassine, I guess, in frustration, as he now tags McCarthy, who's also bodged his way through. Oh, he's gone for a hard dive there,
Oh no,
and
Yassine.
into the wall as a result.
Fortunately, I
So a
think
little bit of those
Yassine
frustrations.
was driving there with some red lights. Just hopping forward to Hades Boise, who is right on the back of Lawrence Sterner.
Yep, this is for P14. Some blue flags being waved in this mix as well.
I think we've got back markers all throughout the field right now.
Yeah, such is the nature of a wet race. And let's see if I can figure out who that is for. It's for Neil Greening, who is 2 cars ahead of this pack, just in front of Lawrence Sterner, in other words. who has completed a valid pit stop, which is explaining why he's where he is right now on track.
I am seeing some green deltas across the field, so the track must be drying out a little bit. Drying out, or at least the expanding field is creating a little bit of air for people to run fast laps instead of be battling
Stretch
with
their
one
legs.
Ardis right on the tail of Lawrence. Will he be going for a move up on the inside into turn
Really
1?
Not
quite.
I don't think he was close enough to taunt a move. But certainly looking a little bit closer now as he approaches the T2 and T3 complex. Lawrence running, I was going to say running defensive line, but he's run a bit wide here and it's opened a little bit of a door for Hardis to try and stick his nose in.
Or did he take the wide line? Because that is quite a cambered corner.
That is true.
Not quite as cambered as it should be.
Advantage. Yeah, you can. But in any... Oh, he's just a wheel on the grass. Oh, and that's slowed him enough to create a door here for Boyce to just firmly plant his car alongside. And that should be moved down because he's got the inside line for this following corner.
It is also bringing Jason Luck into play.
It is.
Who's just following Hardis through.
There's also Fridge Finley behind them. Oh no,
Lawrence.
Unfortunate there.
Lawrence does also spin out. They both rejoin and continue their race. Right, hopping to P12 now. Roxanne Bartle all over the back of Kenny. I'm not gonna dare pronounce.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
I'll just stick with Kenny for now.
Call him Kenny, yeah. Come on, Ken. Kenny in the Ferrari 296 as well. Ever popular, as is Roxanne.
Their last laps were almost identical. Roxanne 2/10 slower. I'm not sure if Roxanne actually lost the position. She is looking very, very lively behind him there through the bendy sections. Ooh, Kenny ran very, very wide, slides around the corner there, and that's going to allow Roxanne to slip past. But what does that now mean for Jude Neville?
He's about a second behind Kenny.
Okay, so Kenny didn't lose enough time or enough acceleration out of that corner to have Jude be much of a concern.
I've just hopped on board with Flip and say a little bit further down. He was behind. But he's technically caught in the mix here as a blue flag.
Oh.
But yeah, nothing to report right now. I'm looking at the battle for P5. Charles Wilkins Lambo on the back of Jeremy de Villiers' Porsche. Not Porsche, Ferrari. It looked to be
Wilkin.
quite close.
That must be Emile de Villiers. And I think Emile has gone...
That's definitely Jeremy in front of Charles.
Not for position, though.
Yeah, it's not for position, correct. So I'm seeing blue flags being waved for Jeremy de Villiers. Okay. And just behind Charles now is Fleming Bow, who's caught up.
I see Jonathan Baines getting a stop-and-go 30 penalty there.
Oh, no.
Or at least serving one. Actually, what happened to it now? Go on.
He cleared it.
Yeah, maybe he cleared it. It might have been that I switched to him.
I didn't see it pop up, so I cannot unfortunately validate.
Right, so Fleming is chasing down on Charles. Ross has, in the meantime, managed to snatch away the lead from Sean Strydom, who's currently running in P5. Sean must have had a spin somewhere that let Ross slip away.
Yeah, he must have not caught that on camera. I'm seeing Andres Sorodio go side by side with Nick Hodson, though. And he's just slipped back into Nick's wake.
Ooh, Nick's front. I'm not sure if that is the livery or if that is looking a little bit second hand.
Whose car? Nick's?
Nick's. Actually need to look at
I'm gonna
Ross's
have a
nose
close
to
look
make
now.
sure.
Let's see.
No, that is the livery. That is the livery.
I'm looking at the front of Nick's car. The bonnet's loose here.
Is it loose? Ooh,
There's a
Nick.
little bit of wobbling
there's
on the front
I see that. I
bonnet
see
there.
that. So
Oh, Nick's run a little bit wide. Not enough to impact his top speed. I think he's going to be okay leading down at the T1 here.
Andre getting onto the brakes pretty early there just to make sure that he doesn't run into the back of Nick. But sticking to
there's
him.
The blue flags again. That's for Jeremy de Villiers, who has Charles Wilkin all over his bumper, trying desperately to find a way past. I can imagine Charles is probably feeling a little bit of frustration here,
Yeah.
but as long as Jeremy doesn't defend a corner, it should be alright in the steward's eyes.
Just in terms of pit stops, can you see whether Jeremy has pitted already?
Apparently he has not pitted. It's still saying he needs
Okay.
to take one pit stop.
Okay, so it's not like Jeremy maybe got some fresh rubber or anything that's giving him a special
Yeah, I'm trying
advantage.
to understand. He must have been involved in an incident, I guess,
Yeah.
to be so far back not have pitted.
Jeremy's fastest lap of 44.5 compared to Charles' 44 dead. So Charles around about half a tenth quicker. And their last lap times are showing a very similar story. And the half a tenth isn't quite enough to make an overtake stick, and Charles runs very, very deep there. Ooh. That
I'll tell
would
you
have
what, there's a
definitely
battle
been a
here.
cut warning if I know my ACC correctly.
Yeah, for that. But I think the pace at which he would have slowed would have negated a warning, I think.
It might
in other
have.
words, not gaining an advantage.
It
Depends.
might have. The problem there is he's cutting a corner essentially.
Yeah, it's true. Quickly, if you want to hop back down to P12, there's a big battle here between Jason Luck stuck in the middle, Fred Friendly ahead, and Fabrice McCarthy, who is all over the back of Jason Luck. In fact, there might even be a move on here leading down the main straight into T1.
I'm riding on board, looking at the spray.
He's having a little look, but I think he's too far back.
Just showing his nose, maybe trying to unsettle Jason just a little bit.
Let's open the door here.
That was almost enough. McCarthy just not keeping his nose there, knows that this is not the best space on track to try and stick your nose in next to another car's rear. Interesting, it looks like these two Porsches are also set up differently. Jason having a bit more top-end speed there, like he's just edging a gap away from McCarthy. Oh, McCarthy is off onto the grass, that's not going to help him, and that means that Hardus Boyser Hardus Boyser is now going to be trying to come back at it. See down in P25, Lawrence Turner is in the pits. This is also from a strategy point of view. Drivers are pretty free to choose here. Although my suspicion is that not taking tires and doing a splash and dash is the ideal strategy.
Yeah.
Hardus right
So
under the
Hardus has got
wing
a
there.
good run here, but McCarthy's running defensive. Should be good if you can keep that line tight. And just behind them, that's a bit of a gap there. It's Mike Clue and Yassine Ismail. Oh, McCarthy getting a little wide there, stepping onto the curb.
Hardness right there. It is so tough, and I think with the aero wash,
McCarthy is flirting with those curbs. I know they will be slippery in the wet. That's dangerous. He knows he wants to keep it as tight as possible. And I'm wondering the pace differential to the car ahead, which I think is Jason Luck, but it looks like it shouldn't be impeding anything just yet.
not quite. Pace difference, they are a little bit slower, but McCarthy is... Okay, no, McCarthy is around about a second slower on his last lap.
Okay.
And Hardis was about a second quicker on his last lap, so he is really, really trying to fight hard to get past him after that earlier incident that sent him spinning. Well, this corner is probably the scariest for me to watch. Everybody running very, very wide there on the exit.
Yeah. It's so easy to just run wide completely, and in the wet, who knows? I mean, that could result in a spin even.
Yeah. I do see that Nick was overtaken by Andre for P3. Let me just see. So up ahead, Jason Luck and Fridge Findlay battling it out. Did Jason and Fridge swap places? Yes, they did. So Fridge currently around about the same pace as Fabrice and Hardis. But if he's not careful, he's going to get sucked into this battle as well. And I've already seen tonight that if you run a bad line, and it's very easy for two cars to slip past you on the inside. Oh, and Hardis is side by side with Fabrice.
Here comes the move, and Fridges. Oh, there's a little bit of a contact.
But they still managed to keep going.
Yeah, Bridges unfortunately dropped 2 places, I think, and both McCarthy and Boyce are getting through.
See if I can watch this battle unfold from the onboard on Fridge.
He's now going to be piling the pressure on Hardis, who's now the meat in the sandwich.
That is some very, very yellow meat. Might get a little sick from eating this sandwich.
Oh, on the grass goes Hardis, but look at the spray. The difficulty of following right now is right up there.
Nah, a lot of respect to the drivers who can keep it clean and consistent here in these types of conditions.
That has done, at least with this battle, has allowed Jason Luck to scamper away on P11 right now. Gave him some breathing room.
He's managed to pull around about a 3.5 second gap already.
It's a good gap, yeah.
Jason Luck, I think, is on a little bit of a drive back. I think he might have qualified out of position, if I remember correctly. It's looking like he's got a really, really good drive, but he's not going to be able to capitalize on it into the chicane, as McCarthy is just running a slightly more defensive line, but it did lead to a pretty bad line through the chicane. Although he did park it nicely there in front of Hardis, who just didn't have any choice on where to go. I'm going to just jump ahead to Nick, who is very closely...
I was just watching this radio battle, yeah. And Nick's, it looks like he's just biding his time almost, just staying with Andre Serradio the whole of the last lap, keeping that gap consistent.
Nick is one of those drivers who tends to be thinking ahead quite a bit. It might be that he just looked at the situation and said, you know what? I don't think battling is going to be worth it. I can rather follow more closely and stick with him. rather than lose time battling with them. And it might mean that
They're
Nick...
coming up to some back markers now, sorry. I think it's Grant Sebastian and Mark McCunnevolt just at the top of your screen there in the
yes.
background. And due to the pace difference, that's gonna not take long at all before they're on top of them. Which always makes things spicy in the wet.
Yes, and especially with battles like this. I know that drivers aren't fans of having battles be decided by traffic, but that is also the nature of racing like this. Blue flags are only advisory.
GT3 racing, yeah.
It's your responsibility to get past the back marker. Ooh, they both running, dipping onto that grass.
Yeah. I've seen so many drivers just run wide there, just trying to give it the full beans, I guess, around the corner.
They're trying their best to go as fast as possible.
Ooh, that door's gonna close. And he's managed to keep it open, and Nick's side by side now.
Don't know if... Ooh, this is a very, very brave move. Nice racing by both of them there.
That is absolutely... They were just stuck rubbing, but not hitting. And Andres manages to keep the position. That was great racing, absolutely, from both drivers.
I am pretty sure that Nick is smiling ear to ear.
That was great respect shown by both drivers, leaving perfect amount of room. What a battle.
Just hopping back to P20, Sean Strydom. He has now taken his mandatory pit stop. I'm not 100% sure how long that pit stop was, but he is arriving on the back of Westhuizen. Who's... Ooh, Sean just trying to squeeze his nose in there, but not able to quite command a position. Sean's going to be on a bit of a drive back. I think he was hoping to pit early and capitalize on that, but it did not quite work out for him in my view. He's probably losing a lot of time now navigating these drivers, especially battling for position. Oh, and he spins. I look away to switch cameras and he spins. Oh no. Sean's going to be kicking himself for that one.
Just back on board here with Nick Hudson. He's once again side by side with Anders Rodeo leading into T2. Oh, he's backed off a little bit there just to slip back into the wake.
I think this time he's backing off knowing that he's going to lose more time going side by side. But he's there. He is showing Andre that he is trying to be the quicker driver.
Putting the pressure on Andres Rodeo, if anything. Who is showing good strength right now to stay calm and collected.
They are losing around about 2 seconds a lap to the two drivers ahead.
I was just checking their deltas now, yeah. Grant Sebastian's, I want to say white Merc. It's more like a pearl white or like a off-white. But Merc is definitely seeming a little bit closer than what I remembered from last lap.
I think slowly but surely they're catching him. On Sebastian.
I'd say Andres Heredia is almost definitely going to start being impacted round about now on this lap, coming down the main straight.
Now they are around about a second quicker than Grant. So all going to boil down to how they can navigate him. And I think they're going to be catching him into turn 1.
Yeah, Andres, there we go. He's yielding down the main straight.
Hey.
Is he going to let Nick through? Yes, he is. Very generous.
Does mean that Nick's line was slightly compromised there.
Yeah, because of the shuffling. The gap is relatively consistent, and there's one more. Oh, he's made a little bit of a mistake there. Nick hasn't run wide.
Yep, he'll be gathering himself a little bit there and seeing if he can get back into it. Just hopping back, Hardest Boys are 0.3 seconds behind McCarthy. Okay. But still not able to make that overtake stick.
Also on board now for the battle for P6. It's Mr. Pillay versus Mr. Bauer.
Switch to.
And
Watching over the wing, you can almost see the lights of the Ferrari behind underneath the wing. This is how close they are running.
what's interesting that I can see is Pillay's traction control. Oh, he's just bumped it to 4. It was on 3 versus Bauer's set to 7. So a significant traction control difference there. So maybe some different setups in the cars.
A lower traction control might also mean just a slightly better acceleration, but it does mean you need to be a lot more careful on the throttle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, throttle application. Want to spin up the wheels in these wet conditions.
Back to P17, Muath Musa is currently 0.3 seconds behind Endron Govender.
Yep, one of the lonely BMW M4s out there tonight. He's going to take a look into T1.
No, almost thought he was going for that one. I'm not sure if he used the same move on the last lap. Maybe he's just showing Endron, I am here and I'm gonna try and make a move if you let me. So next lap, if you're not defending, I'm gonna go for it. Spray is absolutely ridiculous. Luckily, it's not quite like the F1 spray that just hangs around in the air.
Yeah, true.
Interesting thing to note here, Musa has already taken his mandatory pit stop. Endron is yet to pit. So definitely quite a few positions for Musa to gain, and I'm sure if he's feeling like he's faster than Endron, judging by their best lap times, Musa is around about a second quicker than Endron. He's going to be trying his best to make an overtake at some point, or as soon as possible. Ooh, there's someone stationary on this before this last corner, and they rejoin very, very wide.
On sale, flip on sale, that is E34.
Seems to be struggling a bit. And
yeah, but as you say, Muath has pitted already, and he's the first of the front runners, well, essentially to have pitted. P16 and above have not yet pitted.
He is losing a lot of time though. Every lap that he's spending behind Endron is a lap that he's losing a second to the leaders.
He really wants to find a way past Endron Govender here quickly. And there might be a gap here.
I think the problem here is that there just isn't enough space to go side by side. Flashing lights and maybe a little bit out of frustration there, not able to make a move on a stick on Endron. That BMW does look nicely planted.
Not going to do anything when you're racing for position. Those look quite planted. And this battling is also bringing up Roxanne Bartle into the battle just behind them.
He has been round about 3/10 quicker than them. Not a lot of time in it, but it is nudging her closer and closer.
Oh, Governor makes a little bit of a mistake and has to catch a slide. Oh, he's trying to squeeze Musa out now. He can't change his line. Let's see. Manages to...
Is likely gonna does mean that I think his line through this last corner is going to be not the best. Though I don't think Musa is quite close enough to actually go for an outbraking maneuver.
Oh, he's having a look. He's doing it. Oh, and he's just... that was never going to work.
Was never going to work. Way too late. And it means that he now loses the position to Roxanne.
Yeah, he's lost out to Roxanne, as we said, was in the battle just waiting for that precise thing to happen.
Sometimes that's all you have to do. Sit and wait for someone else to make the mistake, especially if you're seeing two drivers up ahead of you who's trying to make a move there. It also means that Westhuizen
yeah,
is also in contention now. But judging by lap times, he's doing around about the same pace as Musa. So they both
he's also done his pit stop. Yeah.
Ooh, this is the tough part. Normally when I would be racing like this, I'd be trying to extend my stint as much as possible. Knowing that this is gonna be a wet race all throughout, like that doesn't have too much of an impact. But it does mean that like you're not risking that's a roll of the dice of getting stuck behind a slower car that hasn't pitted yet. I do want to hop. Oh no, Nick is still within a second of Andre.
Bartle's gone off.
Oh no.
Makes a slight bit of contact on the rejoin, and that's gonna only hurt herself, I think, unfortunately. Don't do it now, Roxanne.
Okay, not
Here
the
we go.
best of rejoins. Oh.
And unfortunately, that's cost her a number of positions. Well, maybe not so much. I think a couple of those that went past were back markers, but at least 2 or 3.
I think my timing... Oh, no, she has actually lost quite a few positions. 2 positions.
I mean, she was fighting with Westhuizen. They were up in P16, P17, so now she's fallen to P21. Oh, in the pits.
Flies into the pits. I think that was not expected.
I'm just hoping that she braked in time. Well, maybe the collision would have helped her slow down, but you know, that timing board is literally right there as you go into the pits. I wonder, she's missed a pit box, reversing a little. We're going to have to see when she exits if there's a penalty or not.
I'm back with Musa at the moment.
Yeah.
Who's looking very, very lively behind Govender.
Roxanne, she's still reversing. She hasn't found her pit box yet.
Oh no.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Ooh, little bit of argy-bargy between Musa and Westhuizen. Musa losing out there. Still not quite got an inside line. This is the vortex of danger. Side by side with Essie now onto this back straight, heading into the chicane. Who's going to be able to do the outbraking there?
Roxanne has exited the pits safely, no penalty, so she got away with that one.
Might be a smart move to have gone to pit now.
Yeah.
Oh no! Musa gets spun around, lots of cars around, and he just got pinched a little bit. Okay, I'm heading back to Nick, who is still half a second behind Andre. He's not been able to make any progress just yet. I think Nick is now just biding his time, hoping that Andre goes to pit first so that he can throw down the hammer and see what he can do.
Could be, as we are now at the halfway of the race. Exactly. It certainly does look like Nick's just biding his time here, in no hurry to get past.
Considering that I don't think the undercut is going to be powerful here, because you're not going to go and slap on new tires. The only thing that's really going to play a big role here is how much fuel do you end up putting in. A fuel pit stop is a minimum of 3 seconds, and then 0.2 of a second for every liter that you add. You could have a stop be as quick as 3.2 seconds, but if you're adding 20 liters, that means that you're doing around about I've lost around about a 5-second pit stop. Sorry, a 7-second pit stop. And that is valuable
and it's
time.
Just gonna be, I mean, aside from the challenges of getting the pit stop right in the wet, you know, overshooting it or anything like that, but
But it means that if you have a driver that had a 50-50 fuel load, they're going to lose out by quite a bit if they go
Yes.
and pit now to fill up the car again. That said, it is wet. I think most of the top end drivers would have chosen a heavy fuel load to kind of plant the car, make sure that they're comfortable, and most would then be aiming for something like a splash and dash. But these cars can be very, very weight sensitive. So it isn't always the case that that a full fuel load gives you a fast car. Sometimes taking that knock can gain you back that like 4 seconds that you would lose adding some extra fuel.
Just FYI, I've seen Gideon Bernardi get a drive-through penalty. I'm not 100% sure what that's for, but he's also just pulled off the track as we speak and jumped to pits, called for a tow.
Ooh. Probably forgot to switch off a change tire setting and slapped on dries. I am back onto the battle with Hardis and Fabrice.
We'll enter into the pits for a second time.
Clearly the Ferrari not working as much as the Boatley has previously worked for him in the rain.
Speaking of the Boatleys, I'm not sure if I've seen
I didn't see any Bentleys tonight.
Yeah, there was one in Split 2. Not sure who's pedaling it offhand, but I see the badge. But yeah, that used to be the go-to car for in the wet as well as the distance races. And the meta changes somewhat.
Charles Wilkin? Nick had drama.
Yep.
Nick had drama. I'm gonna go see if,
yes,
if I can
you must
see.
have.
Nick ran wide at turn 1, lost a ton of time, and that has now allowed Charles Wilkin to get onto the back of it.
It couldn't have been a big drama, but it was definitely there because he's dropped over 1.5 seconds to Andre.
It wasn't big. But it was just enough to allow Charles to get within reach. Charles' last lap time around about 4 tenths quicker than Nick's. Now this doesn't take into account the second that Nick has lost. So Charles currently showing that he's just that tiny bit quicker. I'm keeping a close eye on this battle though. Knowing Charles, anything can kind of happen around the pit stop for everybody here.
Yeah.
I do wonder we might end up seeing all 3 of these cars pile into the pits at the exact same time. Unless they're in a...
I know it's back marker. I was wondering what was going on there with Paul Poston.
Unless they end up in a position where the people behind have all pitted and that opens up a gap for them.
Yeah. So there's Charles just getting past the back marker of Paul Poston as well.
Really well done in letting someone by there. That's a really tough section of the track to keep that tight of a line.
I mean, kudos to even the passing drivers themselves too, just to adjust their line accordingly, recognizing that's where they were going to yield.
Hopping quickly a little bit backwards, Fleming Bauer currently almost a second quicker than Charles. There's 30 minutes left in this race. We're seeing one... I need to do math quickly. Around about 17, 18 laps left in this race, if my calculations are correct. So if Fleming can keep this up, I know that Charles is only slower because of the back markers and maybe trying to follow Nick, but if he can keep this up, it does mean that Fleming will be able to catch up to Charles, and we might have a 4-way battle for P3 on the hands, or on the cards for towards the end of the race. Back to Hardis, who is trying his darnest to get past McCarthy, but he just not able to make it stick. Their best laps, both 43.2s. Their last laps, 43.9s.
So close together, yeah.
I know it can be very, very frustrating, but this is a tight battle for P10 and P9. Bridge Findlay, one of the last top runners into the pits.
There's a battle developing here for P22.
Charles and Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Nick ran wide, and that allowed Charles to just fly past him.
There you go.
Nick seems to be struggling. I'm wondering if this is now a weight issue where the car is getting too light for him.
Yeah, that or, damage.
Maybe damage. I mean, there's definitely going to be quite a bit of tire wear involved here. But the tire should easily last 2 hours, perhaps, depending on how aggressive you're driving. Unless my context for using wet tires is still based off of an old tire model that made them last a bit longer. Nick will be kicking himself a little for that, though. As that now opened up the gap to Andre by around about 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds for Nick. So that's very much, if Nick was planning on a splash and dash, that's very much eating into Nick's pit budget if he was going for a 1 liter splash and dash.
Andre Sorodio, meanwhile, in P3 is stuck behind Bridge Finlay, who just gets out of the way now, and there's another backmarker in front of him too. So yeah, he's in the thick of backmarker traffic right now.
I did see a quick flash of his hazards.
Yeah. Yeah, that
just hopping forward.
Green Lambo of Charles Wilkin, I'm sure, is visible in Andre Sorodio's mirrors.
He's just hopping forward. Ross Bartle, he's had a somewhat, I dare say, a lonely race. 11 seconds ahead of Ryan Barrington Smith. He's been banging in lap after lap after lap of good laps. I think even though there might be a slight bit of damage, that rear wing looks ever so slightly bent to me, but maybe I'm just imagining things. He's been running some good clean laps.
The camera of the track, but yeah.
Mike Leroux and Paul Pothen neck and neck into turn 1. Mike manages to get the overtake done. Pothen yet to pit.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that. Mike Leroux technically the big advantage.
And then for P25 and 26, Neil Greening and Sean Loureiro. Sean all rocking that LTR chic racing livery that I like so much.
Trying to break the toe here. Oh no! It's just through the wall. Oh, and he tagged Sean in the process. That's unfortunate.
Oh no, Neil!
Sean's gonna manage to get going ahead of him.
But I'm sure Sean must have some damage there. Let me just.
There's got to be some damage here on the front.
His car. Oh, I don't have a straight to really look at yet. Just settling the car in. I think there's a little bit of suspension damage.
Not sure what Mr. Greening was. Maybe he was just trying to break the toe or something, but got caught out by the loss of traction.
Yeah.
And then hit the wall, which sent the ping pong effect, pinball effect. Nick has managed to catch up to Charles Wilkin, Nick Hodgson.
I'm sure
really caught up.
He's pushing Charles to now catch up to Andre as well.
Yeah. He's right on the back of Charles Wilkin, who's also got, I think, Neville to contend with as a backmarker in between himself and Andre Serradio.
Something I am wondering, Nick isn't known to make mistakes like this. Is he maybe having some performance stutters? Or is there a little gremlin in the car setup that they weren't aware of or didn't come out in testing?
Yeah, a little bit too aggressive. Oh, someone's caught a big bunch of curb there. I think it's Jude Neville, who is going to yield for these front runners. Hopefully, it's unsighted Nickabit, who's caught a little bit of grass and is getting friendly through. He's technically a backmarker as well. Now he's really a sandwich here with Bence a backmarker, Neville a backmarker.
Oh, this is
Pulls out of the way.
This is tight stuff. Bence, so that's Jonathan Bence pulling out of the way.
Yeah.
Is it Jonathan or is it Emily?
Oh, I see Wilkin grabbing a hell of a lot of curb there through the chicane. Car bouncing over the circuit.
I want to quickly see that. Oh yeah, just caught the back end. He almost lost it.
It was very close to looking like a moment.
Is looking like Andre is just managing to stay ahead of the traffic here and catching it at a slightly more opportune moment than Nick and Charles, who's having to navigate them in some really difficult sections. Not
They're
to
really
fault the back markers, that is the nature of a race like this.
Indeed. Part of racing. Right, so Charles Wilkin is on the back of Endrin Govender. And just ahead of him, racing for position against Andre Serradio.
Endrin last lap 2 seconds slower than Charles, so Charles should be able to dispatch him relatively quickly.
It might even be right, yeah.
Endrin did yield as well, so... Hopping back, Jason. No, my timing tower is lying to me. Roxanne Bartel, neck and neck with Martin Groenewald.
Oh, yeah.
One of her Black Owl SimSport teammates. Into the chicane they go. They've both pitted. Martin has the inside line, runs Roxanne slightly wide, but Roxanne now has the inside line.
Got the grip and she goes through.
And Martin looking like he tried to set himself up there for the cutback, but not quite able to make it work.
Yeah. So the purple winglet our sports car gets through.
Just hopping back to Hardisboy, so he's now a second off of the back of Fabrice. I think Hardis has settled into a bit of a rhythm. He should be in the position to now go for the pit stop and use that as a bit of an undercut. And in actual fact, that is maybe what I would have considered in Hardis's position. Next driver behind him is Sean Strydom, who's 10 seconds behind him. Nicholas Manuel is 24 seconds behind him, and Muad Musa is 10 seconds behind that. So there's a decent gap. It's still like what? That's only 40-second gap that I counted out. It still might put him into traffic, but at this point he knows that he's not able to get past McCarthy. It's a gamble, but it's a gamble that I would have maybe considered taking.
I've got some interesting news from the pit lane.
Ooh.
So that incident we saw with Sean Larriera and Neil Greening down the main straight there in the pit wall incident. So Neil Greening was attempting to pull his sleeve up because he was overheating.
Oh no.
And the split second that he took his hand off the wheel, that was enough of a wobble to lose traction.
Yeah.
And just all go haywire from there.
That's what I remember with a very, very wet Barcelona race that we had a few years ago.
Especially if you have like a high torque DD wheel or something. I mean, that just letting go of the wheel with one hand at that speed with that...
That little wobble is enough.
Oh, just enough, yeah. But it's also just testament to what these drivers are going through in sort of real life conditions. You know, it's a bit of a workout sometimes behind the wheel. You can definitely build up a sweat. It's unfortunate timing to take that adjustment.
Interesting. Sean Strijdom. Why is my timing tower showing Sean 42.55 and Ross 42.55? They are both neck and neck for the...
Yes. Best lap of the race so far. 142.5. That's unbelievable. I don't think I've seen that.
The real question is, will this stand to the end of the race?
Yeah. Imagine if we gave out points for best lap. What would we do?
This, I don't know. I think in F1 it's a point for
whoever
best.
did it first.
A point for best lap, maybe for whoever did it first. But
I think it's who did it first. Yeah.
Why not just give a point for each?
Yeah.
Right. So McCarthy navigating some back markers. Hardis is not quite there. I'm just hopping forward to Nick, who's half a second off of Charles. Charles is not able to close the gap to Andre. I think actually that 2-second gap has stabilized, and he's getting caught up battling with Nick now. Oh, this is the point where I kind of wish that I had a little bit more tooling available from a pit prediction point of view. Because I'm actually quite curious to find out whether if someone like Nick pitted now, my gut is telling me they might be exiting in relatively clear air.
Nick's gone for a dive into the chicane.
No,
Oh,
Nick.
you have to replay on that one, or if you got it on screen.
I caught it on screen. I caught it on screen.
A dive is probably unfair to him. I think he may have just missed a brake marker, maybe.
That's why I'm saying I'm wondering if Nick is having some performance issues, because this is not like him to be making mistakes like this. Oh, Nick.
So he doesn't lose a position, but he's just lost out on all that advantage that he had, and he's getting into the pits now. To Charles in front, so yeah, he's going for a stop.
In this case, what I am gonna do, I'm gonna quickly see how long does this pit stop take to complete.
An indication of how much fuel he's putting in.
Ooh, he might be repairing some damage as well.
I'm gonna actually check his front bonnet. Yeah.
This pit stop went on for longer than the 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And I don't.
His front bonnet's repaired. It's not flush.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he repaired some damage.
He's repairing some damage.
I think that maybe that was like my initial call. Probably just.
Look at that,
just enough to offset his confidence.
Look at that, though. He is now in clear air. Let's assume that he lost 5 seconds on that last lap. maybe it was a bit more, but he is currently 5 seconds adrift of Sean Stradom, and he would have likely come out of the pits ahead of Sean, with a little bit of a gap to McCarthy. Ooh, and I do spot as well that Hades Boysa has gone to pit, and he has come out in P11.
Yes, P11.
So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for what is happening between Charles and Andre whenever they are planning to come and pit. But also Fabrice. He's been battling all race long with Hades. And if Hades is 2 seconds behind SC Esterhuizen. So if he can close down that 2 second gap, let me maybe just double check from a pace point of view. SC is a little bit slower than Fabrice. Oh, this is going to be an interesting play out, I think, from a pitting point of view. 15 minutes on the clock to go. So around about 8 to 9 laps left. Maybe even 10. Just hopping back to P18, Jude Neville, right on the back of Endron Govender.
He's holding up a bit of a train because Fridge Friendly is also just behind them. Is Endron. He's managing to hang on there. As I say that though, he's gotten a little bit wider than I think he would have liked, but he's managed to cut back and close, or keep the door shut.
He's trying to park it in front of Jude there a bit.
Be interesting here. I think Jude's got a little bit of a better line through here leading up to the chicane. Will it be enough to force some sort of move? He's got a better...
Going for a very late dive there.
Oh, has he backed out? No, he's
no,
kept
he's
it
not
in.
Backed
he's trying.
Out. Ooh, but he has to be careful there
and
for Findlay.
Behind. Yeah.
I mean, that is some hard racing, Jude. Hard, brave racing. Not to critique
Not
it.
good.
Just this is. I think this is going to be an interesting battle as well. Endron has seemed to be struggling a bit, but whenever he got ahead of someone, he would kind of hold on to that position for quite a while. He doesn't make it easy for anybody to overtake him.
He does very well in defending. Coming up to some backmarker traffic now. Yassine Ismail in front. Very similar last lap time, so it might not be a problem for a while.
Yeah.
Interesting, I see Jude Neville's got his high beam headlights on, not just the standard.
I also very much prefer driving with the high beams whenever I need lights. I do know that if you're driving with auto lights turned on, it never actually goes to the high beams. Only ever uses the low beam, which in a night race can be a little sketchy.
Yeah, I prefer the manual control.
Like from a brightness point of view, the high beams they're not blinding. They just widen your field of view is what I found. They light up more stuff around you rather than further.
Yeah.
All of the gaps have expanded more and more now.
Yeah, I think the closest battle on track is probably still this one for P17, 18, 19. Somewhat opened up a little bit between the three, but this is past section of the track here. Ooh, I see Ishmael getting a little bit squiggly, but catches it, but that's going to bring the gap between the back marker traffic closer.
Emile de Villiers is into the pits.
Okay.
So just hopping forward, Nick has around about a 10-second gap ahead of him. He can really focus on laying down quick laps. Although it's not really quick compared to Charles and Andre, who's doing around about the same lap times as him right now.
Just seen Ishmael spun just in front of Jude Neville and Indran Governor, but manages to avoid contact. That was close to
See if
taking
I
them
can
out.
catch that. Ooh, I just caught the back end of that.
Fortunate enough
code
not
brown
to make
for them.
contact. Yeah. That was millimeters away from taking out Jude. Fortunately, get away unscathed.
I need to see what this gap is. Oh, you know, that's a pretty big gap. Yeah, right now the closest battle is here for P16, 17 and 18 between Endrin, Jude and Fridge. McCarthy doing 45 fours and Hardis doing 44 fours. So Hardis round about a second quicker at the moment. I'm still anxiously awaiting to see what is going to happen when McCarthy exits the pits. Whether Hardis managed to get the undercut to stick. Loads of cars side by side here. Ooh, Jude going for an overtake there. Little argy-bargy with the 31 car.
Endrin spun around.
Was that contact with Endrin?
No, I think Endrin, I just missed the tail end of it, but I think he may have done that spin on his own.
Spun pretty much on his own. But there might have been tail end contact with Endrin as well.
Possibly, yeah, possibly caught off camera.
Oh. Okay, just hopping to Hardis. Still doing really nice quick laps. 43.9 compared to Fabrice's 45.4. Hardis really making this undercut, trying to make it work for him.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Stradom might even be in a position to get back a podium finish here.
That'd be quite the comeback.
McCarthy is in the pits. He is rolling. Where is Hardis? Hardis is on the back straight. No! Didn't work out for him. Well, McCarthy is a good few seconds ahead of Hardis right now. Let's see what the update says when he goes across the.
He's even got Essie Estes and Muath Musa in front of him.
Yeah,
as
well, it looks like that, but I don't. He does. Ooh, this is gonna be a tight battle. So, McCarthy, Musa, Esterhuizen, and Buesa, as well as Emile de Villiers, might be in for a battle here. Ross Bartle has gone in for his pit stop. That now means that Ryan Barrington-Smith has taken over the lead of the race. Charles Wilkin is in the pits.
rolling again. That was a quick stop.
Nick is coming around the last corner now, so Nick's mistakes have not really helped him much.
Avoiding action here with the Roxanne bottle and side by side with Wilkin.
Ooh, Wilkin.
Stuck in.
So Nick currently about 15 seconds behind Charles.
I just saw Andres Rodeo and currently in P3 have a little bit of a sideways moment just before the chicane, but he's managed to gather it.
I wouldn't be surprised
he is yet to do his pit stop.
If this is the lap that he's choosing to do his pit stop on.
Yeah.
I mean, that is also the risk here, is you might end up losing out.
He is that yeah, I was gonna say it's racing for position, Ross Bottle ahead, but Ross has obviously done his pit stop.
No.
So, he's staying out.
Staying out. I mean, he can do this on basically the last lap. Although if he doesn't enter the pits, if he doesn't
need to pass the timing line,
yeah,
by the time the clock hits 0.
I think you need to be in the pit lane, cross that like safety or timing line there.
Yeah. He's got some time.
So just out of interest, the gap to Charles is around about 30 seconds. So that looks okay. That's around about the time lost then for Charles' pit stop. Oh yeah, Nick had the repairs done as well. That's likely why his gap is extended by so much.
Yeah.
So just jumping ahead, Ryan Barrington-Smith diving into the pits. 4 minutes on the clock to go. He's feeling it's safe to do so. Oh, of course, he is maybe a little bit worried about Andre. That might end up holding him up.
Could be.
I'm just switching to Andre now, who is also diving into the pits.
Yeah, he's now taking it. Ooh, a little bit squiggly on the entrance.
Does mean
almost
that
tags the wall.
Does mean that Ross takes back the lead. And I think that means that everybody in the race has pitted.
I'm seeing Jeremy de Villiers yet to pit in P29.
Okay, so last of the very last.
Everyone else seems to be there, yeah.
Jeremy
on P9. Battle for, yeah, between McCarthy and Musa again.
Right. Musa has shown that he is pretty quick, but his best lap time not faster than McCarthy, so they might be neck and neck at this, and if they're not careful, they're gonna have Westhuizen and Westhuizen behind them catch up. 2 laps to go, roundabout, I think. Well, 3 maybe including this one. Mostly, yeah, Ross will be starting his second last lap now. And Wilkin has managed to slip past Andre for P3, the final podium spot.
Wow. It has indeed the gap 1.5, 1.6 seconds. That's going to be a tall order to get by, but anything can happen in the wet, especially. Lambo versus Lambo.
think Andre might have overfueled a bit there, which cost him some time, and it did look like his entry into the pit was very, very slow. He was on the pit limiter long before he needed to be. Interesting. Jeremy is going to likely be disqualified from this race.
Not pitting in time. That's
He
unfortunate.
didn't pit.
I know. It almost seemed like he pitted extremely early in the race. And he must not have put on fuel to obviously pass the mandatory pit requirement.
Yes.
But maybe he didn't realize. And perhaps he only put on tires or repaired damage or something and didn't put in the fuel.
Surely that widget should have told him. Right, Ross Bartle crosses the finish line and starts the very, very last lap of the race.
P2 safely behind Ryan Barrington-Smith.
Just hopping back there a bit. Martin Groenewald. I think he might have just made an over... No, my gap was showing a small gap. Oh, Sebastian goes into the pit, so Martin Groenewald inherits P21. Right, I think last corner. Ross has ran a really, really good race. Early on managed to overtake Sean Strydom there. Sean probably having some drama, but Ross well-deserved win. Ryan Barrington-Smith going to be bringing in P2 for himself. Well-deserved drive there as well. He's had a pretty clean and uneventful race from what I've could see. Charles Wilkin has spun.
Oh no, Charles.
No, he has not. He drove over the chicane. I think he's running out of fuel.
Oh no.
Charles ran out of fuel. Andre
throwing away the podium.
Bringing home P3. Oh, Charles going to be kicking himself there. Sean Strydom P4. Nick will bring home P5. Oh, that is heartbreaking.
Unlucky Charles.
Which now means Fleming will be promoted into P6. Kenny into P7. Fabrice into P8. Esterhuizen into P9. And Muath Musa into P10 to round out the top 10. Oh, that is heartbreaking. Charles has to jump
Charles, but also big congrats then for, is it possibly a debut podium to Andres Herodio?
Muath also rolling very slowly over the finish line there. I think he might have ran out of fuel there. Right, I think while we wait to see if people are hopping into the booth here. Let's see. Right, we have our race winner here, Mr. Ross Bartle. Congratulations on tonight's win.
How's it, guys? Thank you. I I don't know. We'll have to see. There might be a few incidents pending,
Okay.
but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we saw that who was it? Sean Stradom was ahead, and then at some point it kind of disappeared. We didn't quite see whether there was an incident or whether he just had an issue. But otherwise, take us through your race.
Yeah, pretty good. Push from lap 1. I think quali. I only needed a 10th, I think, or half a 10th to get pole. So stuck in the spray over those first couple laps was a bit tricky, but yeah, just push from there. And then, like I say, a couple incidents here and there, but we'll have to go back and review it and see what it looks like.
Well, I mean, best of luck. Let's see where the dice roll, and but still, congrats you. From once you managed to get past Sean, you just had a super clean, consistent race, and you managed to get it through to the end there with very little bother from Ryan behind you.
Right, guys, thanks.
Right. We have P3 here. Andre, congratulations on your P3 finish there.
Thank you.
Take us a little through your race. How did it go?
It was chaotic, Oaks. The best way to put it. I'm sweating. I'm drenched in sweat. But yeah, no, it was hectic. I think a few silly errors, especially with that last pit. The pit entry, I almost lost it, and it kind of gave Vulcan a bit of an edge. And then the last few corners, I just see this guy slowing down, and I start panicking. I'm like, is he letting me through? He's in the middle of the road. I don't know if I should go left or right. And yeah, there's a lot of emotions, and yeah. Whew.
Yeah, congratulations on your like maiden podium here with us.
Yeah, actually, thank you.
And then lastly, Ryan Barrington-Smith, congratulations on your P2 finish. You mentioned you might not have microphone, or you might have some microphone issues. Let's quickly see.
Thank you very much, Sas. Are you hearing me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it was a good race from my side. I wasn't expecting to be so far at the back, but yeah, it was a decent race. It was a bit of a shame to see my teammate Sean having an incident with a back marker right near the start, because he had race-winning pace.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just managed to get out of trouble today, and gaps started opening up, and I was just on my own for most of the race.
Yeah, it was actually quite wild seeing Sean and Ross share the fastest lap there at the end.
Yes, I was just about to say that the race-winning pace.
The exact same lap.
Exact same lap.
Yeah, I just didn't have the pace for them. Hey, they were about 3 or 4 tenths a lap quicker than I was tonight. So that was the best that I could hope for. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with it.
I mean, ultimately you kept your nose clean, you kept out of back markers, and that's still a well-deserved P2 finish. I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. These aren't easy conditions to race in.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy with that, and the main thing is getting some good points for the championship as well. It's not always about winning.
Yeah, that's the more important one. Thanks so much for joining us, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of the GT3 race. Quite eventful.
That's quite the eventful race. Just to punt it again quickly, you can head on over to www.simracesa.co.za. Find the Discord forum join button there. You can hop onto Discord. We'll get through the sign up process there. You're welcome to come and race with us. We have races every Monday night. Ryan, what's the next race?
Indeed. So we've got the GT4 race coming up next Monday at Zolder, and then we'll be quickly into the F1 in the following week at Mugello.
And then we're back onto GT3 the week thereafter. So
Spa
racing every single week. There's an opportunity for you to have fun with others. And as we said, we've now moved over to using this multi-split functionality thing. There might be some teething issues here and there, but like it allows us to accommodate for a wide variety of people and kind of have the system figure out who is competitive and who needs to be competing with one another. So feel free to come and join us. It is a great spot to have some fun racing. To everybody in YouTube chat there, Thank you so much for swinging by. Thanks for watching. It's always great to see some good support for our teams out there. And we're looking forward to seeing you race with us. So if you're keen, come and join us, and we'll hopefully see you on the grid next Monday. Anything else from you, Ryan?
Nope, just to say it's been a pleasure. Thanks everyone again for tuning in as well. And thanks, Sass, for hosting us. And we'll catch you soon.
Yes, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Ciao.